Welcome to another full day of meals video. This time I'm cooking recipes from a cookbook that was published in the 1950s. This book, in fact, my favorite recipes from the Culinary Arts Institute, if you can see that. So this book was published in 1959. You seem to really like these videos, these types of videos where I cook a full day of meals from one decade. I have several of these from different decades, so I have a playlist for that. I'll link it in the description down below. It's breakfast time, it's morning. I don't know if you can see this. I'm making Scrambleburgers, just one singular scramble burger for myself. So this recipe is actually from the egg and cheese dishes section of the cookbook. I don't know exactly that it was intended to be a breakfast. It's like a breakfast sandwich to me. It's sausage with eggs, some green pepper and onion. That reads breakfasty to me. I know that it's just in the eggs and cheese section. I'm making it breakfast. You can make breakfast whatever you want, you know, no limits. It's so hard to see that cast iron skillet against my stove. So to start my scramble burger, I need to cook a sausage patty. This is a 2-ounce pork sausage patty, and I'm just gonna cook that in a cast iron skillet until it's done. While the sausage patty is sizzling away, I'm gonna make the scrambled eggs to go on the sandwich. The way that these recipes are written is a little unusual. I'll talk about it a little bit later, but I think when I include the recipes in the description, I'm gonna rewrite them a little bit to make them just a little bit more clear and easy to read. Anyway, so I'm gonna scramble 1 egg. And as I said, I'm doing this as directed by the cookbook. So I just beat that with a fork a little bit. I'm gonna add just a pinch of salt and a tablespoon of milk. A little bit of pepper too. Maybe this isn't how I would normally do it for my own scrambled eggs on a daily basis, but you know, following what it says, and that's fine. I feel like eggs and how to cook them have just caused a lot of controversy, and I don't get it. Just cook them the way you want to cook them. I also have a bun here that I'm just gonna toast in my toaster oven. And yes, this is a regular bun. That's what it says to use. Again, this is probably not technically a breakfast sandwich. I'm choosing to make it a breakfast sandwich. So whatever. Normally a breakfast sandwich I'd probably have on like an English muffin, you know, or a bagel or toast or something, a biscuit perhaps. Sausage is cooked and is draining over on some paper towels, and now I need to cook a little bit of green pepper and onion. Let me scrape those out a bit before I cook my egg. I keep saying eggs, it's just 1 egg, just for me. Heat under that. Oh, my toast. Oh, it's perfect. We'll let that stay warm in the toaster oven for a bit. So I just need to cook these babies. This is very much like the Denver sandwich or the Denver scramble or any other Denver thing that I have made. It's like green peppers and onions and scrambled eggs. I think those are cooked. This reminds me of camping because we always if we go camping, we take a cast iron skillet with us. That's how we do our cooking. Truth be told, sausage is not my breakfast meat of choice. Usually I go for bacon, but I am willing to give this a try, of course. I don't hate it. It's not something I ate a lot growing up. It's not something I normally choose. You know, that is actually pretty good. I thought the sausage was gonna be a lot greasier than it is. I don't know, I went with like regular breakfast sausage for my patty. It has a lot of good flavor, but like it's not overpowering. Sometimes I find that with breakfast sausage, it gets to be like a little too much for me, but this is pretty good. I actually really like this. Gonna have my breakfast. I'll see you at lunch. I'm getting ready to make my lunch, but before I do that, I'd like to thank today's sponsor, Good Chop. Good Chop offers fully customizable boxes of high quality meat and seafood delivered to your door on your schedule. You choose the frequency for deliveries every 4, 6, or 8 weeks, and you can even pause your subscription at any time. All of Good Chop's products are vacuum sealed and flash frozen at peak freshness. There are over 70 high-quality cuts to choose from: 100% grass-fed ribeyes, wild-caught salmon, free-range and organic chicken breasts, and thick-cut bacon, just to name a few. And all of Good Chop's meat and seafood is sourced from American farms and fisheries. Their price per meal starts at just $3.32, and they offer a money-back guarantee. So if you don't love Good Chop, you can get your money back. I absolutely love the convenience of having high-quality meat, fish, and poultry delivered to my house, to me. I also appreciate the flexibility because I can pause my subscription anytime I need to. If I'm going out of town, on vacation, whatever, I can pause my deliveries. So far, we've tried the ribeye, the ground beef, the chicken breast, and the thick cut bacon. And I'm actually planning to try the salmon tomorrow for dinner. Now, it's really, really hard to choose a favorite, but the thick cut bacon was definitely high on my list. So delicious. If you'd like to give Good Chop a try, visit goodchop.com/YouTube and use code CookingBooks120, or click the link in my description down below for $120 off across your first 4 boxes. That's goodchop.com/YouTube and code CookingBooks120 for $120 off across your first 4 boxes. Thank you again to Good Chop for sponsoring today's video. For lunch, I am making tomatoes stuffed with rice and cheese. Tomato singular, just one for me. And honestly, I don't think I have ever eaten a stuffed tomato, so we'll see how this goes. Apologies if you hear some outdoor noises. It is very nice outside, so I decided to open the windows. You might hear some birds, but you also might hear some people doing yard work. I'm preheating the oven to 375 degrees, and I have buttered my blue corn flour casserole dish. And first, I am making a filling. I have some rice that I've prepared, so that is cooked. So that's step 1 done. I have my cheddar cheese, and I have to mix some of that with some breadcrumbs. And I also have some melted butter. It's been sitting a moment. I'm gonna microwave that for just like 5 seconds. It solidified a little. That's what happens when you prep your ingredients ahead of time sometimes. I've moved over to the stove because I need to heat a little bit of butter in a skillet. Butter melted, and now I need to add some canned mushrooms. Yes, canned, that is what it says in the recipe. I chopped these up just a little bit because I thought it would help them sort of incorporate into the filling a little bit better. Okay, hello. Yes, meet your fate. So I just need to let these cook until they're lightly browned. I mean, they're canned mushrooms. They're already kind of brown. Now that I have my mushrooms, I'm supposed to stir them into the rice. Mushrooms are still pretty hot, so I'm kind of mixing those in first because I also have to mix in this cheese and I do not want it to melt. I have my remaining cheese all incorporated, and now I need to add a dash of Lea and Perrins. Savory stuff. Wow, that was a little bit more than a dash, but it's okay. We're almost there. I swear. I don't know, this recipe really feels like it has so many steps, and I think it's just because I have to move the camera around a lot to different areas. Moving on, it's time to prep the tomato. I have a large, firm tomato, and I think it's so pretty. I don't remember what this is called. It's some sort of heirloom-ish tomato. I like it. Do you ever buy tomatoes just because they look nice? So it's been washed, and now I need to cut a slice from the top. And I have this is actually a tiny boning knife. I really like it for stuff like tomatoes sometimes. I'm also going to use it to cut around the inside of the tomato. When the time comes, you'll see what I mean. It's just nice. It's kind of small and nimble and sharp. Woo, there's the inside. So I have to cut around like this and attempt to dig out the insides. This is kind of my favorite spoon. I know it's a slotted spoon, but it's kind of sharp on the edge. You could also use a grapefruit spoon, which I don't have, but you just want to sort of carefully try to dig out the inside, and that sharpness really helps it. I may do a little bit more surgery here. Kind of glad I'm just doing one of these. You don't really want to cut through the bottom. Yeah. And I am putting this, I'm supposed to mash this through a sieve and use the, for lack of a better word, tomato guts as part of the filling to mix in with the rice. We always called them tomato guts when I was growing up. This feels like I'm carving the world's smallest pumpkin. It's like, happy Halloween, everybody. I'm gonna stop digging. I think there's plenty of space in there for my filling. Ta-da! All right, I'm just gonna set this aside in my blue cornflour dish. Switch around a little bit. I don't know how much of this stuff I'm gonna get, like anything from, mostly juice probably. All right, we got a little bit out of there. So I'm supposed to combine this tomato pulp with my rice mixture. Looks like rosy applesauce. Mix that up. The original recipe makes 6 tomatoes, and I basically cut the quantities into fourths. So this could, or, you know, I don't know. I think all of this stuffing is gonna fit in there. We'll see. That is my stuffing. I think I have everything in there. Bring in the tomato back in. I need to season this on the inside with a mixture of salt and accent. And if you don't know what accent is, I will pop a photo on the screen now. My tomato, all seasoned. Still not sure what this is gonna be like. I've had stuffed peppers, never had a stuffed tomato. So I'm gonna put my rice mixture inside and kind of pat it down. Heck yeah. I think there's a plane outside. I don't know if you can hear it. I just like having the windows open when I cook. Oh, that's perfect. I think the tomato I selected was probably a little larger than the recipe intended, so it did kind of work out for me. Wow, cute. And I have my breadcrumb topping. That's a lot of topping. I don't know, we'll see. I might not use all of this right now. Maybe I'll save it for another recipe if it's too much. Oops. Kind of surprised there's no like herbs in the breadcrumb topping. I don't know. It seems like it would be something you could do, but maybe it's fine as is and I'll find out. Very cute. I like it. I like it. So now I have to bake this at 375 degrees for 15 to 20 minutes. While my tomato is baking in the oven, I'm gonna put together a really simple dessert. And this isn't even a recipe that's in the book. Strawberries were on sale, so I picked some of those up yesterday and like washed them and prepped them and sliced them. I thought that would make, you know, something good to accompany this baked stuffed tomato. And I was like, what else can I do to like make this really 1950s? And then I remembered Dream Whip. So Dream Whip is a whipped topping. It comes in like envelopes and you have to mix it yourself. But this was introduced in 1957 by General Mills. And I haven't used this or had it in years. I don't really even remember what it tastes like. And it is still sold today, obviously. It's a little bit harder to find. This package has 4 envelopes of Dream Whip and each one makes, it says 2 cups. The good thing is it is shelf stable. So, you know, if I'm in a pinch in the future, I can use it for future recipes, or, you know, maybe I'll use it in a future vintage recipe for this channel. So we'll see. This is gonna be an adventure. I haven't, like I said, used this in a long time. So I have a decent sized bowl here. I think this should accommodate everything. I have my Dream Whip. This box is weird. Oh yeah, okay, so it's like in 2 little sections. B, whipped topping mix, milk and vanilla in large bowl with mixer on low speed until blended. Okay, so we're gonna start there. Woo! I don't know if you saw that little poof. That kind of like poofed out when I opened it, but it looks like that. Wow. Don't tell anybody I did that. Oh, it's just, there's like clouds just coming right off of it. Here we go, here goes nothing. I've got half a cup of cold milk and half a teaspoon of vanilla extract. That is everything. It's just combined. I think we can move on to the actual whipping part of this. And I realize it's not like a perfectly white color. I don't have any clear vanilla in my pantry at the moment. Beat on high speed for 4 minutes or until topping thickens and soft peaks form. I get a lot of questions about my hand mixer. It does have a light. It also has a timer, which I absolutely love. So I'm gonna be able to time this very easily without having an external timer. I know, it's a luxury. It's a luxury to have something like that. All right, I'm gonna do this part. I'll check in along the way. Okay, quick check in. We are 1 minute in. It is definitely thickened. So let's keep going. 2 minute check in, definitely even thicker, kind of jiggly. I don't know if I'm gonna have to do the full 4 minutes, but I'll let you know. This is actually 2.5 minutes in. We're not too far from that last update. I mean, it's pretty, yeah. It is looking a little bit like meringue before you cook it, like when you mix it. It's like, or marshmallow cream, that too. I made a chocolate buttermellow cake with like a cooked sort of meringue kind of icing. This is what it reminds me of. I may mix it a little bit longer just to make sure that I'm where I'm supposed to be. I only mixed for like 15 to 20 more seconds. I'm gonna taste it. I've got a spoon here, so I'm gonna try it before I use it on my strawberries. Okay, that is interesting. I mean, I definitely prefer real whipped cream, and it really doesn't take a lot of effort, not really even much more than what I did here. Actually, I would say the effort is less, if not equal to this. But again, this is a shelf-stable product, so if you're in a pinch, it's something that you can keep on hand maybe more easily than fresh, heavy cream. The taste is like, it's not quite Cool Whip, but it's definitely not whipped cream. It tastes okay. I don't know. Do you use this product regularly, or do you remember it from the past, or what did you use it for? I'd love to hear about that, so leave me a comment, but I'm getting really excited about my lunch. My little tomato. It's a pretty big tomato, actually. I don't know how close you could see it in that other shot. The skin kind of blistered and cracked, which is what is gonna happen when you bake a tomato in the oven. I think what I'm gonna do first is cut it in half and then attempt to show you a cross section. Also, apologies if you hear noise in the background. Our lawn service is here, and I am very thankful for that. So not complaining, just trying to avoid some of the noise. Okay, looky there. Interesting. I think this is gonna be pretty good, actually. We'll see anyway. But I gotta make sure I get a bite with just absolutely everything in it. I'm making a mess. I should have used a bigger plate. But this plate is so cute, right? With the strawberries. Yeah, I like that. That is tasty. I really wasn't sure exactly what to expect, but I like the tomato, like the tanginess of it. And this is kind of a little bit of a lighter dish, I guess. I don't know. There's no meat in it. It is just rice, cheese, tomato, etc. But this, like, the tomato actually, I think, sorry, one moment. They're like right by the window. I'm just gonna keep eating. I think the tomato lends a lot of good flavor and texture here in a different way than a stuffed pepper would. The rice filling is so good. I wasn't expecting a ton from like the tomato juice and stuff that I sieved out, but I think it's really important here. It binds everything together nicely. What a nice dish. I really didn't know what to expect. I chose this particular dish mostly because I thought the Scrambleburger was pretty heavy this morning. It was like a heavier like breakfast than I'd normally go with, and I thought this seemed a little bit on the lighter side, and it's very tasty. Definitely gonna enjoy that. But now I need to try my strawberries and Dream Whip. I tried the Dream Whip, I know what it tastes like, but with a strawberry, let's try it. Tasting it again, it kind of has a little bit of a marshmallow cream flavor quality to it. Not texture necessarily. It's a lot lighter, of course, but it's kind of like Cool Whip, whipped cream, and marshmallow cream had a baby. I don't know how that would work. I like it better with the fruit than I do alone. Very refreshing. Nice little dessert. I'm gonna enjoy my lunch, and I'll see you at dinner time. So this giant box just arrived, and I know what's in there, but I am gonna show you what's in there. It's crutches. Probably time for a bit of a life update. I've talked about this in detail over on my Patreon, but the short version is I am having hip surgery in June. That surgery is going to require me to be on crutches for a few weeks afterward. So I have a torn labrum, which is like a ring of cartilage in your hip. I've been dealing with this actually for over a year that I've had this pain. This surgery was not a decision I came to quickly or lightly. I've been doing physical therapy, various injections. Nothing really seems to be working to relieve my pain. And like I said, this has been going on for over a year. So it wasn't like, oh, this hurts, I'm gonna have surgery. No, like this was not a small decision. Yeah, people have tears, labral tears that they live with, and they don't cause them pain, and it's totally cool and fine. Unfortunately, mine is being very stubborn. I wanted to update everyone here just so you kind of know what's going on in case there is a little bit of a gap in my content. I'm gonna try to film ahead as much as I possibly can because I love doing this. So some of my videos might start to look a little bit different here and there, and that's probably why. So just wanted to give you that update, and now I'm gonna go ahead and prepare dinner. We've made it to the final recipe of the day, and that is curried chicken with almonds. That's not a very good picture, but that is what it's supposed to look like by the end of all of this. I'm starting by melting some butter in a skillet that I hope is large enough. I actually, again, divided this entire recipe by 4 because I'm just trying to make a small amount. Butter is melted, so now I'm adding some sliced fresh mushrooms. Yes, fresh mushrooms, not canned. We're getting very fancy. This is a fancy meal. And I also have some onion and, believe it or not, some finely diced celery. Not a lot, very small pieces, and they will be cooked, so I can handle it. So now I just need to let those vegetables cook. Okay, it's starting to smell really good in here. Gently push vegetables to one side of pan and blend into butter a mixture of flour. Okay, well let's do that first. Let's get those vegetables to the side. Some flour and curry powder and some accent and some salt. This is gonna thicken our sauce. Yeah, I think the vegetables are gonna be mixed in here a little bit. I do make my chicken pot pie filling in a similar way where I mix the flour and the vegetables and the butter, etc., and it's fine. So, oh gosh, it's starting to smell even better. Wow, I think this is gonna be so good. That's what I love about making these videos, is just kind of discovering recipes that are new to me. You know, I've had curry before, but I've never made this recipe. And it seems like it's gonna be really good and not super hard to make. So let's start adding our liquid. Some heavy cream, luxurious. Yeah, I'm making a little bit of a mess, but it's fine. I'll clean it up. Nobody else has to clean up my messes. And then also some chicken broth. And I'm gonna whisk that with my twist whisk. Did I go a little small in this pan? Probably. Because you know, I like to get a little enthusiastic when I mix. I am gonna stir this until it is thickened. It is thick, very thick. So now I have some of that chicken that I prepped earlier. You saw that in my good chop spot. And I just sliced that very thin. And now all I have to do, you know, I've added it to the sauce. I just have to like let this heat through. It just says, you know, cooked chicken. So if you have leftover chicken from something, you know, a rotisserie chicken, whatever, use that. You know, I just didn't happen to have any, so I prepped some. I think we're gonna switch to a spatula. I'm gonna let that chicken heat up, then it's ready to serve. What I sprinkled on top, it was just some unblanched toasted almonds. Unblanched just means that the skins have not been removed. So these were sliced, unblanched, and I toasted them in a pan. This smells incredible. This smells really good. My first thought without tasting it is that I could use more vegetables. Like I want it to have more vegetables, even if those vegetables include celery. I just think, you know, there's a lot of sauce and a pretty good amount of chicken, not so many vegetables. Let's give it a try. I think it's gonna be good. That is so good. The sauce is delicious. Very subtle curry flavor. You can probably add more curry powder or like a spicier variety if you would like. It is a little bit thick. I would say maybe add a little bit more chicken broth to the mix to thin it out a little bit. I mean, between the flour and the heavy cream and the butter, it's pretty thick, but it tastes very good. And this recipe, you know, I said I divided it by 4. There's definitely enough left for me to have this for lunch tomorrow, so that's very exciting. I'm gonna take another bite, hold on. That is a good one. Even better than I thought. That happens to me a lot, where I don't go into it thinking like, I'm gonna hate this, but like a lot of the recipes turn out so much better than I think they will, and I enjoy them a lot. So that's it, I'm done. I made breakfast, lunch, and dinner from a 1959 cookbook. So as I usually do, I'm gonna take a day to reflect a little bit and gather my thoughts, and then I'll come back and kind of give you a recap and what I thought of all of the recipes. My favorite recipes was originally published in 1959, and it comes to us from the Culinary Arts Institute. So the Culinary Arts Institute was not a cooking school. It was a test kitchen based in Chicago, and the home economists that worked there would test out recipes for publication. Now, there's a lot more to this story and a lot more to the history of the Culinary Arts Institute, and it just so happens that Kevin from Cavalcade of Food did an entire video on the Culinary Arts Institute. So I'm not gonna go into full detail on the history because Kevin over at Cavalcade, he did an entire video Very, very thorough, lots of good information. So if you want to learn more about the Culinary Arts Institute, go over there, watch that video. It's very interesting. So this particular book was published, like I said, in 1959. The Culinary Arts Institute, if you are a cookbook collector, it might sound a little familiar to you. And that's partially because they made, sorry, I have a whole pile of cookbooks over here. They did all of these books as well. You know, all of these little booklets, and this is heavy, but I have the Encyclopedia of Cooking, and these are all booklets like this. These booklets were taken from some of the bigger cookbooks and like broken out into categories. So for instance, we have 250 ways to make candy. This is interesting. 500 delicious dishes from leftovers. I might use this one soon. Cooling dishes for hot weather. These basically the same size, but they have books that are, you know, the French cookbook, the German and Viennese cookbook, the New England cookbook, just about any category that you can think of, whether it's a type of food or a season or different nationalities. Like they had a cookbook for that. But let's get to this one. This book is great because, for a lot of reasons, but I love the photos in it. I really do. It's such a treat to see those in the inside, front, and back cover. And there are some black and white photos in here too. That's most of the photos are black and white. And then they have some little drawings and illustrations in the margins. When I was doing research for this video, I took a couple of photos of some of the very cute illustrations and I put them on my Instagram stories. So if you're not following me over on Instagram, definitely do. I don't post as much on the grid part of it. I do a lot more in the stories part of it. So this is one of my favorite types of cookbooks to do full day of meals videos from, because it has lots and lots of dishes. It's got lots of meals, you know, the different courses. It's got meats, it's got desserts, it's got pastries, just about everything. So it's much easier for me to put together a full day menu out of something like this. This was, I think, supposed to have a dust cover. I don't have it. Actually, I did want to point out this very interesting color combination on the front. It's kind of like a maroon color and then this paler, more of a like sky turquoise. What an interesting combination. I kind of love it though. Our table of contents right here starts with, it's smart to be careful. I think any good cookbook that you're, you know, where you're learning how to cook, or it's one of those like all-encompassing kind of catch-all cookbooks, usually has a chapter somewhere on safety, food safety, how to, you know, prevent yourself from getting hurt in the kitchen, how to make and use a pastry bag. That is 4 pages. That takes up 4 pages. Freezing baked products, outdoor cooking, measurements and equivalents. So in addition to recipes, it has all of this other information that is just very helpful. When a cake lacks perfection, wow, that warrants its own notation in the contents. I'm gonna go look at that. We're gonna look at that together. It's page 193. I wonder what it says. So it is a page, it's special, it's pink, and it's a list. It actually breaks down into the different types of cakes. So butter type cakes or sponge type cakes. There's a column for each. And then it says, like, what is the problem? It's over here. This is basically like a troubleshooting guide for your cakes. So it's like, if you have this issue, if you have a butter type cake over here, you know, this could be the problem. If it's a sponge cake, that could be the problem. Let's just take one of these, for instance. One side is higher. The batter might not be spread evenly. The pan can be uneven. The pan is too close to the side of the oven. And then for sponge cakes, it says, you know, also uneven pan, or the oven rack or range is not level. So there could be a lot of different reasons. Crumbled or fallen apart. For a butter cake, it says too much sugar, leavening, or shortening. So too much of something. Sugar, leavening, and shortening. That's a lot of the cake. Undermixing, improper pan treatment, improper cooling. It doesn't give any reasons for a sponge cake. So I guess sponge cakes never crumble or fall apart according to the Culinary Arts Institute. I talked a little bit also about the way that these recipes are written. I think what I am most used to a lot of the time, not all the time, is a recipe where the ingredients are listed at the top and then underneath that is like every step of the recipe. The exception to this on a cookbook that I use frequently is The Joy of Cooking. It's more like the ingredients are kind of incorporated into the recipe, but the way that they write them in that book, the ingredients are in like bold and they're kind of on their own line. So it's pretty recognizable to find those and kind of make a list and everything. There's a lot of what you might call, I think Betty Crocker calls them key recipes in the Big Red, like the Betty Crocker's Picture Cookbook from 1950. In this book, they call them base recipes. Base recipes are indicated by a solid pyramid. It's a triangle. It's a solid black triangle. Variations of a base recipe by an open pyramid / triangle or a numbered pyramid. Numbered pyramids refer to the base recipe or to a preceding variation. It sounds more complicated than it is, but it can cause it to be a little bit more difficult to read the recipes. I don't know if difficult's the right word. It can get a little confusing. I had to kind of reread the recipe a few times depending on what I was making. But you have your base recipes. So like for my scramble burger, I had to make the base recipe of scrambled eggs and then incorporate it into another recipe. It's not a bad way to do this, really, to like learn how to cook your foundational things and then make new dishes out of them. Let's find some of those really cute illustrations. So this one is a farmer. And we have some cute animals in the background. And there's also some cats, some barn cats. And then we have some geese that are very upset by this turtle. I don't know what the turtle did to them. Oh gosh, look at these kittens. So cute. So cute. They're dispersed throughout the cookbook. Oh my gosh, I love this cookie case right here. That's so pretty. I love it. Let's get into the recipes that I made for this video. So breakfast. I kept it pretty simple this time. A lot of times when I do these types of videos, I like to make something the day before, like a baked good or something like that. I decided not to do that this time, just to change it up a little bit. But my breakfast was a Scrambleburger. Like I said, when I was making this, it was a recipe from the egg and cheese dishes chapter of the book. It may not have been fully intended to be eaten as a breakfast, but I ate it as a breakfast because I can do what I want. It reminded me of a breakfast sandwich, you know, sausage, egg, some vegetables. Didn't have any cheese on it, but honestly, it didn't need it. It was very flavorful on its own. I mentioned that sausage is not my usual go-to breakfast meat, but this ended up being pretty good. I really did like it. And the addition of just a little bit of green pepper and onion in the eggs, it added a nice flavor to it. I've made several dishes before that were like a Denver scramble or a Denver sandwich, and it's basically peppers, onions, and like scrambled eggs. Delicious, easy, didn't really take very long. My lunch was a tomato stuffed with rice and cheese, and then for dessert I had some fresh strawberries with Dream Whip. That was so good. I always say this, I don't go into these videos expecting to hate the recipes that I choose. I really try to choose things where I think I'm at least gonna like them. But then a lot of times I end up liking these dishes a lot more than I would expect, you know? My hopes sometimes aren't super high. And this was one where I thought, oh, it's probably okay, but you know, I don't know, how good can it be? It was very good. I would make this little stuffed tomato again for myself. It worked out really well as just like a single person dish when I divided the recipe by 4, like the stuffing recipe by 4. It was really good in that like heirloom tomato that I picked up. I kind of can't wait to try it again when it's actually tomato season because I think it will be even better. Sort of similar to a stuffed pepper, didn't have any meat in it, and I was totally fine with that. I think in this case with the tomato, I would prefer not to have like ground beef or ground sausage or anything in there. The rice and the cheese and the mushrooms and everything, just really good combination. All things that I like. I love mushrooms. I love rice as a side dish usually, but it was really good inside the tomato and then topped off by those little crispy, buttery breadcrumbs. I love a buttery breadcrumb topping. You know this if you've watched some of my other like casserole videos, one of my favorite things. I think it just makes it extra special. I really do. Stuffed tomato, unexpected, but really, really delicious. And then I love strawberries anyway. So fresh strawberries that I just washed and cut up. And then that Dream Whip. Okay. So I haven't had Dream Whip. Before this, I hadn't had it in a very long time. I hadn't really, you know, used it in anything. I have 3 more envelopes of it, so I better think of something to use it in. It tasted fine. It wasn't quite whipped cream, like real whipped cream. It wasn't quite Cool Whip. It was somewhere in between. I actually had a little bit more today with my lunch, like on some strawberries. And the consistency it deflated a little bit overnight. I stored it in an airtight container in the refrigerator. That's what the box recommended. I would say if you're gonna make something with Dream Whip, or if you're gonna make Dream Whip to use as a topping, it's probably something that is best consumed as soon as you make it, I think. That's the way it seems to me anyway, but it was pretty tasty. It was fun to use. I mean, it was fun to try. I love that there are some like retro kinds of ingredients that are still out there, still being sold, and that we can still incorporate them into some of these vintage recipes. I know that's not the case with everything. I'm talking to you, Betty Crocker frosting mixes. Right now I can only find the fluffy white frosting mix. I don't think the other flavors are out there anymore. Finally, it was dinner time. Dinner was curried chicken with almonds. It was delicious. I feel like I've seen curried chicken recipes in vintage cookbooks and I've never tried them. There are a few modifications I would make. I probably would add a little bit more curry powder. The flavor was definitely there. So if you aren't really sure about that curry flavor, this was maybe the right amount of it for you to like kind of be introduced to that type of flavor. I would probably add a little bit more. I didn't need it to be spicy, but I know some people like a little extra spice, so you could change that out as well. The sauce consistency was a little thick for me. So off the top of my head, like changes you could make to that, you could add in some more chicken broth to kind of thin it out. You could probably use less flour. You could swap out the heavy cream for half and half if you wanted to. You know, there's a lot of different things that you can do to change the consistency if you don't like it that thick. It came together very quickly because the chicken was prepped, you know, like you used cooked chicken in this. If you have cooked chicken in your freezer, or perhaps you're getting like a rotisserie chicken or something like that, you just slice it really thin and incorporate it into the sauce, and it's really good. I would also add more vegetables. I said that when I was making the recipe. There was a lot of sauce to vegetable and chicken, you know, the ratio was a little different. So I would probably saute some more vegetables up and add those in. But really, like overall, honestly, it was pretty tasty as is. I was really happy with dinner. I'd like to thank Good Chop once again for sponsoring today's video. Visit goodchop.com/YouTube and use code CookingBooks120 for $120 off across your first 4 boxes. If you like videos like this where I cook an entire day of meals from one decade, from one cookbook, I have a whole playlist and I'll link that in the description down below. I hope you liked this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.